for being out this morning for the women of the Coalition Leadership and Development meet and greet. It's a great, 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 beautiful day. Isn't this a beautiful day? Yes, good, good. Good to get together, fellowship, talk, and have a good breakfast. All right. Sounds like old times, Belinda, huh? Anyway, we're going to ask Dr. Glenda to come up and do an opening prayer and bless the food, and then we're going to commence with the program.
Good morning. Let us pray. Father God, in the name of Jesus, Lord, we thank you that you allowed us to wake up this morning. We thank you that you've allowed us to see a day that we've never seen before. We thank you that you've allowed us to assemble here on today for this great gathering. Lord, we come right now and we pray a special prayer for the ears of the people that are present on today, that they will listen and that they will get clarity of decision and clarity of vision and clarity of thought. And Lord, we pray for the woman that we are here in honor of on today, that you would continue to allow favor to go before her and pave the way. Lord, we pray now that you would place a blessing on the food that we are about to partake in, and that you would bless those that prepared it, that it would be nourishment to our bodies and allow us to continue in this fellowship. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, we're going to ask Scholar to come up, Scholar Tibbet to come up and do the Pledge of Allegiance, and would everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may now be seated.
Let's give her a big hand. Beautiful young lady. On the honor roll, too. Isn't that something to be proud of? All right. The next person we're going to have come up is Delicious Curtis. She's the media director for the Coalition for Leadership and Development. And have her come up and give you some. Is she here? Okay. She's going to give you some idea and give you the mission statement of the Coalition for Leadership and Development.
Good morning, everyone. How are you doing on today? Okay, so just bear with me because I just want to share information with you about the Coalition for Leadership and Development. And I'm going to take an opportunity to read it, okay? All right. The Coalition for Leadership and Development, formerly known as the East Jefferson Coalition for Leadership, is a 501c4 action think tank, community-based organization incorporated in November of 1992. Its philosophy is to promote self-sufficiency that will create, encourage, and promote center-right policies based on principle of freedom, limited and effective government. We support a strong national defense and freedom of choice. The Coalition for Leadership and Development believe that education and re-education are core principles of freedom. The Coalition for Leadership and Development believes that most Americans are centered right. We believe that most Americans are economically and politically conservative, but socially liberal. Our nation has always favored free enterprise and limited government solutions. We support policies that make Americans safe and secure. We support educational choices, healthcare choices, housing choices, and equitable, fair tax systems. The Coalition for Leadership and Development works with other organizations whose mission is compatible with the coalition objectives. Our goal is to magnify our outreach efforts by associating with like-minded groups. The Coalition for Leadership and Development has worked with other organizations to offer a myriad of services. The coalition has sponsored outreach and educational programs for youth, development, economic development, and leadership summits, feeding programs for the elderly and the needy on Thanksgiving and Christmas Day. We sponsor an annual active voter education and awareness drive and institutes. The Coalition for Leadership and Development holds its annual Trailblazer and Scholarship Recipient Gala annually, something you guys can all contribute to. This community event recognizes those unsung community heroes who are rarely recognized for their good works. The coalition provides scholarships to college-bound high school students who displays leadership potential. We provided over $400,000 in scholarships to worthy high school students since its inception in 1986 and reorganization in 1992. We strive to provide center-right policies and engage like-minded Americans to implement those policies through lobbying nationally, statewide, and local government bodies. We attempt to reach the hearts and minds of Americans and encourage them to actively participate in which Benjamin Franklin called our republic. We must never forget what Franklin said that day as he exited the Constitutional Convention Hall. Most Americans, unfortunately, are not aware that the deliberations of the Constitutional Convention of 1787 were held in secrecy. Consequently, anxious citizens gathered outside Independence Hall when the proceedings ended to learn what had been produced behind closed doors. The answer was provided immediately. Mrs. Powell of Philadelphia asked Benjamin Franklin, "Well, doctor, what have we got, a republic or a monarchy?" With no hesitation whatsoever, Franklin responded, "A republic, if you can keep it." The Coalition for Leadership and Development aspires to help maintain that republic form of government. We are not affiliated with or controlled by any political candidate or office holder. The Coalition for Leadership and Development supports its core values and policies and works with all organizations, officials, and groups whose mission is compatible with us, our goals, and our objectives. We work with organizations whose core values are consistent with the coalition's values, regardless of affiliations. So I hope that I've helped to give you just a little bit of insight of who we are and what we do. And thank you for being here with us on today.
And the coalition is principally about preparing tomorrow's leaders today. That's key. And Chanel said that the Coalition for Leadership Development is a think tank, and what it does, it sets policy. Say, for instance, in Jefferson Parish, we are an aging parish. Our population is aging. So policy has to be set to deal with the aging of the parish. So in that light, the coalition will recommend to our leaders that we start to build senior citizen communities, whereby senior citizens can sell their home if they choose and go and live in a senior citizen community when their kids are gone off and they're living in a 2,000-3,000 square foot house all alone. So they can have these communities where they can have one another and they can still enjoy and have the same quality of life. The coalition has a concept about reentry. We think that people who are being let out of prison, those individuals should be given an opportunity to get their GED. Those individuals should get an opportunity to get a gainful job, or if they want to go into business. One of the things that impacts prisoners when they leave out of prison is that they are prohibited oftentimes from living in subsidized housing. So the coalition has a position paper that says that we need to modify that policy. Because if I don't have a place to live and I can't get a job, then there's a strong likelihood that I'm going to resort back to those things that sent me to prison anyway. And those are the key things. Our president has a concern about the fact that the summer job training program, at one time kids, and I was in that program, one time kids aged 14 to 18 could participate in those summer jobs. Now, it's 18 years old. The question the coalition has in its policy position is that why in New Orleans 14-year-olds can get jobs in the summer program and not in Jefferson Parish. Those are the kind of policy positions that the coalition takes. We also want to know how the parish is going to use the opportunity zones. The president passed a landmark piece of legislation that created what you call opportunity zones. Trillions of dollars, almost $2 trillion, will be reinvested in the United States. And that legislation specifies that those funds should go in the low to moderate income communities. So we want to know how those funds are going to be used and what we're going to do as a parish to attract opportunity funds into our opportunity zones. Those are the kind of policy positions that the coalition puts forward to try to make sure that your quality of life is not inferior to any person else's quality of life. And that's so key and so important because people are concerned about jobs, education, and health care. And the coalition centers its policy positions around those things. We just wanted to take an opportunity to let you know some of the things that are impacting you and why you are here this morning. Now I would like to bring up to you the president of the Coalition for Leadership and Development, Mr. Charles Stewart, who started his organization in 1986 with $1. Hard work, commitment to make good things happen. And let me just say something about Charles. People don't realize that Charles has been out there fighting for years and years and years. Charles, through the coalition, was the leading plaintiff against Jefferson Parish, position paper way back then, saying that the way they drew the districts, African Americans could not be elected. Therefore, a lawsuit was filed. That lawsuit changed the way they appropriate districts from Westwego to Gretna to Jefferson Parish to the school board. All those things were changed from the Coalition for Leadership and Development versus Theriot, a landmark case that changed the formation of how people are elected in Jefferson Parish. So Charles has been out there on the forefront for years and years and years, making good positive things happen. Not just him, there were other people involved too, but the Coalition for Leadership and Development was the lead think tank that filed those lawsuits that make it possible for you to have not just African Americans on the council and the school board and the Gretna City Council and the Westwego City Council, but putting position papers forward whereby your interests are protected. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring up to you the president of the Coalition for Leadership and Development, Mr. Charles Stewart.
Good morning, everyone. I look like I'm the president if I'm not, huh? By the people that came before y'all, Sister Curtis, Pastor Dr. Donald Jones, and everyone that have came for me so far. Do I look like I'm the president? Yes, you do. The people that God bless around you. And I'm not a great speaker. I think the good Lord blessed me to be in the background. He let me pick good people. He put good people in my life. And y'all can see today, just the event that y'all having the pleasure of having a great breakfast this morning. I didn't do any of that. All I did thought about it. And they put it in action. That's the God-heaven truth. I talked to Pastor Jones. And once you tell Pastor Jones something, he may not say nothing. That big old head, he'd be typing it down. And he tell the beautiful people, Sister Jones, Sister Curtis, all of y'all, when you start to call their name, you mess up. So I'm going to say everybody who is a part of this, I thank y'all for making me look good. A lot of times, hey, man, you the president of the organization. I said, boy, if y'all only knew, I don't do nothing. I just think about it, and they do it. And I thank God that he allowed me to do that. And I want to quickly thank all the great people that are here today. Some of the people that I haven't seen in quite a while. Reverend Frank Grover. I never seen him at a political event before. Say amen for him. I thank God for him and his wife. I thank God for Dr. Clay, Pastor Creek. All the ministers, stand up right quick. I want to call their name. I may mess up. All the people of God, stand up. Thank y'all for being here. And I thank everyone that are here. So I'm going to say it again. I thank everyone for being here today, and some say they can't make it for some reason. They had to work. I say I had to work too, but I still had to be here to be with the coalition. I want to say quickly that I love everybody, and the reason why that y'all are here today on the behalf of the coalition here, oftentimes I go around and people know that I pick candidates that I love, and they know that I'm going to work real hard for a candidate, and they ask me about, say, what about Harry's daughter, Cynthia? I say, I don't know, I have to meet her. Through my good friend, Donna Lambert. And he said, Charles said she a beautiful child, just got to get to know her. I said, man, I say, Cynthia look kind of mean, like a little bulldog to me. Like a little pit bull, you know. She looks serious all the time. He said you just get to know her. And I got to know her, and the first time I think we met in Copeland, and she walked up to me, and I just was looking to get like 2 or 3 fingers from her, and she hugged me. I said, wow, she all right. And we began to talk, and she told me her plan for Jefferson Parish. And I fell in love with her. But oftentimes, like I be trying to tell everybody why I like candidate. So I told her, you need to come and let the people hear you. So that's why y'all here. Y'all going to hear from her if y'all feel excited like me and the coalition. And that's her reason for being here. That's the reason why I invited y'all to be here today. And I want y'all to be excited about her, that y'all can go tell anybody. This little pit bull, she not just a pit bull in look, but her actions make her a pit bull. And she is that kind of person. Once you get to know her, she have a beautiful story. I love her so much. She's been knocked down the same way many of y'all. And let me say this real quick before I sit down. Is that I think the National Women Law Association in 2017 did a study, a pipeline to prison. And this, I talked to Pastor Jones, who I'm hoping that he'll run. He said he might. And if y'all encourage him, and also to Cynthia, that we need some help when it comes to our kids. And that's why all of us should be here. Our grandkids. The pipeline between prison and early childhood, the Bible said train a kid while they're young. You got to catch them while they're 2 or 3. Now you got to catch them when they're 1 because they're growing so fast. And that's why we are here today, because I believe in my heart, and I think Cynthia believes in my heart, and I know a former councilman, Donald Jones, I know he believes in his heart that our kid needs some attention. Needs somebody to stand up for the kid, because they building prison and promised, and whoever build the prison, they're going to be 80% poor. I got a problem with that. And we all should have a problem worrying about our grandkids and our kids. And I talked with this lady, and she told me, Mr. Stewart, she said, I'm totally committed to that. And I'm hoping that everyone will stand with her and listen to her. And I believe before y'all leave here today, that y'all be excited about her, that I am, that y'all go tell somebody. She is the one that could lead this parish. She would have the vision, and not only, she a bulldog, pit bull. She would let this council know that this parish needs to move forward. Our attention that Pastor John mentioned earlier about different programs. I talked to Sheriff LaPinto Monday, who was on the program Monday, and he committed to the program, Doctor, the reentry program. So we know that council lady would be on us. And I said to y'all one more time, we only here to try to enlighten y'all of what the coalition believes, that we should have real people to have real ideas to support us. And not only that, we don't care who they are. They can be whatever party they belong to. We just don't vote for it. We vote for somebody who's going to help our people and our kids. I love y'all, and y'all know in church ain't nothing y'all can do about that. So y'all enjoy yourself and thank all y'all for coming.
Let's give the president a big hand. And I'll be remiss if I wouldn't acknowledge Dr. Reverend Clay, who's been working with us on the reentry program. Stand up, Reverend Clay. He's been working with us on the reentry program, and that's to break that pipeline back into jail. Couple of points of clarification. The Coalition for Leadership and Development does not endorse candidates. It's a 501c3 think tank. I don't want anybody to see this and it impact our funding capacity. But it does have a political action committee called the Coalition of Jefferson, which actually endorses candidates. And it also has a super PAC called the Jefferson Coalition that works independently from candidates to get positions out there. So there are 3 different components that make up this particular group. President Charles talked about the pipeline to prison. Most of us are probably aware there's a book called The New Jim Crow, and it talks about the prison system and how the fact that if a child is not reading at a 3rd grade level, but at a first or second grade level by the time they hit the 3rd grade, then that child is targeted as a person who's more likely going to go to prison. So if that child is 2 reading grades behind, by the time they reach the 3rd grade, that child is more than likely going to be targeted, one of those 80% to 85% of the kids who make up the prison population. Now, why is that so important? Jefferson Parish, in conjunction with the Jefferson Business Council and the school board, did a task force study on Head Start. That task force study recommended that there are 30,000 kids who need early universal child education, and they don't meet the Head Start standards. Jefferson Parish, before Hurricane Katrina, had 1,100 kids in its Head Start program. I'm told we are now down to 700. 30,000 kids need early childhood universal education. That is key. That task force study should not sit on its shelf. One of the coalition's positions is that those recommendations that are in that task force study should be fully implemented. We study, and put all the studies on the shelf. This is one that you need to be energized about because it may be your child, your grandchild, your niece, and your nephew. We're asking the Jefferson Business Council and all the community to come together and raise the funds in conjunction with the school board and the parish and do a collaborative effort between the parish council, the parish president, the superintendent of schools, and the school board to fully fund those recommendations in that task force study and reach out to those 30,000 kids who need universal early adult education. Louisiana is one of the few states that don't fund that. So if the government isn't funding it, we should fund it ourselves. That task force also recommended to decentralize the education, allow the churches to become a learning center for those children. Just imagine those kids, 30, 40 kids in the church, learning in a good, wholesome environment. The church is employing 4 or 5 people, and is also a revenue stream for the church. So that's the economic development program. You want an economic development program? The full implementation of that task force study is the economic development program. Those are the kind of things that the Coalition for Leadership and Development studies and recommend to our leaders. Remember, Coalition is a think tank. Coalition for Leadership and Development is a think tank. The Jefferson Coalition is a political action committee. It endorses candidates. And the Super PAC, the Jefferson Coalition, targeted candidates who don't fit our criteria. So just wanted to clarify those 2 things. With that, I want to bring up Gwendolyn Jarrell, who's going to introduce the Lady of the Hour. Would you come up, please?
Good morning, everyone. First, allow me to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedule today to come and share in this opportunity with us. As my husband always says, it's a great day to be alive. Amen. Give yourself a big hand for that. Now, most of you don't know that as a young lady, my first real job after I had my 3 kids, I decided to go back into the workforce. Now, the first real job that I had was a secretary in the office of the first African American elected to the Jefferson Parish Council. Over a 12-year period, I rose from secretary, office manager, and finally, to the administrative assistant. God allowed me to raise up to that position while raising 3 kids and growing up as a single parent. Do not allow anyone to tell you that without God, anything is not possible, because with God, all things are possible. God is everything. Now, I'm telling you this because it all started at a meeting like this for me. Subsequently, I volunteered in that campaign because I wanted to make a difference. Making a difference in the lives of others is what counts. I'm going to say that again. Making a difference in the lives of others is what counts. Now, I would like to say having a parish president that will work with your district councilman and other elected officials is going to make a big difference. Having a parish president that's going to work with your district councilman and other elected officials is going to make a big difference. Now, when my husband told me that Parish President Tim Coulon, the former Parish President Tim Coulon, was working to help Councilwoman Cynthia Lee-Sheng for the parish president position, I knew she was something special. And I knew that from firsthand experience because I worked with Parish President Coulon, and we got a lot of things accomplished in that era. But once I got to meet Cynthia for myself, she began to share her life experience and a vision for Jefferson Parish. I felt that 20-year-old young girl, when I was in that position, I felt that 21-year-old young lady sitting in my first meet and greet, the feel-good feeling that came back to me. So I'm excited about the future of Jefferson Parish as I stand here today. Let me start by saying that Cynthia Lee-Sheng is a very, very passionate person and a strong individual with a humble spirit and a loving heart. She's a visionary, but just as important, she is willing to listen to all your concerns. But that's not all. Her credentials are very, very impeccable. She's a mother first and foremost, a CPA, administrator of public policy, your current councilwoman at large. I believe she's the first female to hold that position in the parish-wide. She has 10 years of parish government and has gone without any scandals. 10 years of parish government and has gone without any scandals. Cynthia is transparent and consistently demonstrates a profound sense of integrity. Ladies, I want to introduce to you someone I consider a friend, and hopefully, through hard work and God's blessings, our next first female parish president in the 180 years of the Jefferson Parish, history of Jefferson Parish. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you Councilwoman Cynthia Lee-Sheng. Let's give her a big hand.
Thank you all so much. What an incredible introduction, and I'm happy to, I want to thank Ms. Chanel Curtis. Where's Ms. Chanel? Where is she? And Gwen Jarrell and Dr. Glenda Williams, thank you. And of course, Mr. Stewart and Mr. Jones for bringing together what I now find is the more events I go to, I feel like I have more friends in the room. So it's wonderful. And this is the time where I've told, I think when I first met you, I said, I want people to be comfortable with me. I want to get to know people. I will sit down and meet with anybody because I want genuine support. I want people to believe in me, believe I'm the most qualified person to be the next parish president, and please help me do that. And you all have really come through to me. And I have never been called a pit bull or a bulldog, and have been more proud to have been called two types of dogs. I'm very happy to be called that. Thank you so much. Because look, we as women know there's a certain kind of management style that for women is a wonderful thing, but you also have to be tough, okay? You can't be a pushover. So that's, in the spirit of that, I'm happy to be a bulldog, okay? Sometimes, hopefully it doesn't have to come out a lot, but when it does, and when we're fighting the right fight, okay? When we're fighting the right fight, it needs to come out, okay? All right, and I'm 100% with you on that. Now, people will say education's different from government, and I won't get, we have a school board and we have an incredible school superintendent, so when people call them, they say, I don't like this teacher and I had this involved in school, I do have to say, it's a different governing body and we have to respect them. But where we can form coalitions on the general issues of, our youth have got to be, it's the strength of our parish, and I'm all with you on that. And the more children we can touch on that and get them into school so that they're going to be competitive and feel confident in a classroom and not feel like they're behind, because that's where a child begins their confidence level, is that they're successful in school. And if they go into school and all the other kids are at a certain level and they're not, immediately they start feeling, I'm not as good as these other kids. I'm not as smart as these other kids. And it's hard to come back from that when you learn that at a young age. So I'm with you 100% on that, okay? I want you to know a little bit about me and what part of the introduction. For me, it's all about family, okay? From back to my grandfather's time. My grandfather, I'm proud to say, immigrated to this country, what I believe was in 1917, best I can tell, over 100 years ago. Poor, didn't know anything, but just made the decision to come to this country. And so I'm happy to say that I feel like my family is part of that American dream of America. You can do anything you want if you have the opportunity to do it. You all know who my father was, Sheriff Harry Lee, served Jefferson Parish for 28 years. He was all about wanting to put the bad guys away so the good guys can feel safe, and I'm completely supportive of that. And I'm very happy to be his daughter. Now, when he was alive, I never would have thought I would have been in public service. So I never talked to him about politics. I never asked him his advice because I never thought I would be doing this, ever. But it was after his death, and I was able to go, and I was asked to go to meet a lot of people and be out in the community. People started saying, you should run for public office. And my late husband, told me that one day. And for one time, it just sunk in. And that's how it all got started. So, and many of you know, and I shared with many of you, I lost my husband very suddenly. And that's hard. So I'm a single mom. So I know what it's like to have the pressures of work and being a single mom and being the only parent. And some days you're just absolutely exhausted. You just absolutely feel like, what do I do? And you take a deep breath and you live for the next day is all. We all know that. It's just keep pushing on, do the best you can for your kids. So I have my two angels up above who are pushing me, and they're telling me, and I feel it very strongly, because what I say is sometimes in tragedy, people lose God, and sometimes in tragedy, people find God. And I'm very fortunate that when I felt like I was at the end of the world, God was there with me. So I am a woman of faith because of a tragedy in my life. Okay. So I'm really excited about that. But I have my two angels up above that are telling me to go for it. And it doesn't matter if you win or lose. Look, I want to win. But I know I've been through worse if I lose, and I will do something else. So I have that strength of those two men up there pushing me on. I want you to know a little bit about me. I worked for the Immigration and Naturalization Service for 10 years because I went to the museum and I saw what made America great was that we are a country of diverse people from all over the world. We're this just unique stew of people that came together, and it makes us more competitive that we have all these different cultures, and that's how America got started. And I have this romantic view of that. And I went to the museum and I was like, I want to work for the Immigration and Naturalization Service. The agency doesn't exist anymore, but that's what it was called back then. And I was a young girl, went to D.C., and I had this romantic ideal of the country, and I got hired by the Immigration and Naturalization Service and worked there for 10 years, swearing in people to citizenship from all over the country. And one of my best memories in life was a man taking the oath of citizenship, and he held up his hand, and he looked like he was just turn of the century man, like the clothes he was wearing. He's from Eastern Europe, and I saw tears rolling down his eyes. And I just remember, I will always remember that moment. And I do have, when I say I have a romantic ideal of the country, I do. And sometimes it gets in nitty-gritty in politics, and sometimes it's hard, and sometimes you want to lose your faith in it. But I always go back to this country is an incredible country because you're able to we elect the people. Nobody tells us who our leaders are. We elect the people. You have to go out. You have to sell yourself just like I'm doing today. Nobody just decided our elected leaders are there, and the democracy is what I love about this country. So I worked for the Immigration and Naturalization Service, and then I changed careers, and then I became a CPA, and 10 years ago I was so fortunate to represent Metairie, District 5, on the Jefferson Parish Council. And I want to talk to you about some things that we did in Metairie that I think is unique to me. I took on 2 hard issues that I did not have to take on, and many of you know Fat City. Fat City didn't have to be touched. It was there in the 1970s. It had a lot of crime. It had some good elements, but there were a lot of alcohol establishments. There was a lot of bad things going on, underage drinking, some violent crimes. I didn't have to take it on because the people were used to it being that way. And we took it on with the fight, and now that area is changed for the better. They asked for me, they wanted to recall me. They wanted to get me off the council. There were signs up, recall Cynthia. And maybe that's where the pit bull comes in. But I stood strong, and we fixed it. And now the crime was reduced 40%. We have new investment in that area. And there's an area in Metairie called the Thomas Track, where Trader Joe's is now. That was in litigation since the 1960s. I was a kid riding my bike around that lot. And it was in litigation, and I brought the neighborhood together, and I brought the owner together, and we talked for 2 years. I didn't have to touch this because it was in court. It was going to be settled by the judge. But I said, this is the neighborhood I grew up in. They could end up with a multi-story building here if we don't do something. And I asked them to negotiate, and I asked the neighborhood, let's do something, give in a little bit, let's deal with something that we can live with. You might not get what you want, which is still an empty land, but let's do something we can live with. And what happened, and what I think I can do very well, is, you have opposing parties, and really, guys, they're not that different, but you start thinking fear, and you start thinking, well, they're my enemy, and it almost makes it worse. And when you bring people together, you realize there's common interests that they have if you can tear down the other things. And we just started building a little bit. Can you agree on this? Can you agree on this? Trust started to form. The fear and the hatred started to drop away, and now you have a building block to do something greater. And I'm happy to say we changed that zoning to commercial from the neighborhood support after 2 years of talking to them. We got the Trader Joe's, and that Trader Joe's is one of the best Trader Joe's in the region. So it's an example of what I did in the district that I want to do and I can bring to the parish. We have to be better as a region, and Jefferson Parish has got to work better with Orleans Parish. Okay? We have to be a region. If you add our population in Jefferson Parish with the population in Orleans Parish, we still don't equal a Louisville, we don't equal a Nashville, and we don't equal a Jacksonville. So to be competitive as a southern region, to bring big business here and to bring jobs to our people, we have got to stop thinking Jefferson Parish is just Jefferson Parish, and that's Orleans Parish. We can't think like that anymore. And the future success for us is that we work together as a region, okay? I think I can unite this parish. There's this West Bank, East Bank kind of thing, which is absolutely ridiculous, guys. The river means nothing. It is so easy to get across, but we're a parish that is divided by a body of water. That's all it is. It's a body of water. We cross bridges all the time. We have got to be together as one parish, East Bank and West Bank, and I think I can do that. I think I can unite the council and the administration. What you said is a parish president has got to get along with the district council members, and we all know if you don't get along, so much of the energy and so much of the fighting is just on things that don't move the parish forward. They don't move, exactly, it's gridlock, Dr. Williams. It is just, the energy is, what's this person going to do? Well, I can't let them do that, and that's your energy. That's not moving the parish forward at all. I have the relationships with the council, and I will be able to work behind the scenes to bring those relationships so we come forward and we're able to deliver to our citizens, which is what all of us were elected to do. And if we get gridlock with the mistrust, it doesn't happen. Council members will never find out something going on in an administration that I'm in charge of on the news. It won't happen because I'm working with them behind the scenes, and we're all going to work together as a team. I think the real issue of this campaign is about the future, okay? And why I think I'm so very qualified for this job, it comes down to this. Simple. I'm a mom. I am a mom of a 19 and 16-year-old now. This parish has got to be strong. We deliver this parish to our children and to our grandchildren. And if they don't have job opportunities here for us to live where we raise them, if they choose to move away on their own, so be it. But if they don't have opportunities to live where we raised them, where they played in the playgrounds, where their friends were, shame on us. Shame on us for giving that to them, a community where they don't have viable opportunities to live. And that is the driving force behind my passion to serve. I tell people I'm in this for the right reason. I am in this for the right reason. And you said it, it was nice for me to hear scandal-free. You might not agree with me, but I say the reason, and there is no scandal there. It's hard to take office and try to make everybody happy. It's very difficult. You know that. I know Mr. Jones knows that for being on the council. You can't make everybody happy, but if you study it and you look at it and you say, this is why I made the decision, then you just try to let the chips fall where they may. And that's not scandal. That's just having to make a decision, right? So I do think the real issue of this campaign is who is best prepared to lead our parish into the future by experience, by ability, by temperament, and by character. And I do believe that person is me. And I want to spread the message across. There are other things before I finish that we can do. And we need to work better as a parish. We have parish government, and we talked about the school system, and we talked about, say, the sheriff's office. It's different elected bodies, it's different funding sources, and we haven't been really good at coming together creatively to serve our citizens because we're all sort of in our lanes. Like I say, the sheriff's office is concerned about troubled youth. What we have in the parish is we have libraries and we have recreation facilities. We have got to be better about coming up with programs to work those together. We have a lot of gyms and recreational facilities around the parish where the surrounding neighborhoods have aged out. They're older. Some playgrounds can't even field a baseball team. We need to program those buildings for other uses, okay? We're paying, the parish is paying for the building, we're paying the employees retirement, we're turning on the lights, and a gym is empty, and kids are on the street. That is just silly. Okay? That is just silly because the conversations aren't taking place at certain levels to let other groups into those gyms. Okay? Libraries as well. I'm happy to say that we are working with the school system this next fall to start bringing our children into the public school system to see the parish facilities. How does the drainage system work? How does the sewer system work? How does the landfill work? To get these kids at a young age to think, oh, maybe I could be an engineer. Maybe I could be a scientist. That is easy for us to do. We've never done it before, just because we haven't thought outside the lines. So I'm really excited about some of these initiatives that we're hoping to bring on. And I know there was a time for me to answer questions, and I'm happy to do that. But I'm telling you, I go out and I speak a lot to people, but what I need to hear from you is what your concerns are. So I would like to take some of that time. I'm happy to answer questions, but I need to hear what your concerns are. I can't represent you if I don't know what's on your mind. So, I would like to flip it a little bit, and I'm not going to know the answer. If you have a concern, I might know, but I want to know in my head going in, this is what you're thinking. This is what you're worried about. So I don't know if we can change the program like that a little bit. But I want to know what you want from Jefferson Parish, what you want Jefferson Parish to be for you. One of the questions that came up to me is, if you got in office, who would you hire? I don't know who I would hire, and I'm not making hiring decisions yet, but I will promise you the administrative staff that I bring on will look like what Jefferson Parish looks like, okay? It will look like what Jefferson Parish looks like, because we cannot represent this community if our own administrative staff does not come from all parts of the community. It's very difficult to manage that, okay? So, that's taking the cart before the horse of who I would hire. That assumes I'm going to win, and we don't know that yet. But I will tell you that is my absolute utmost belief, is that an administrative staff has got to be, it looks like the community that we serve, okay? So, does anybody have any questions for me, or does anyone want to share what's on their mind? Yes, sir. Should I pass the microphone, or should you just want to stand up?
Stand up, man. My name is Lee-Sheng. If elected parish president, what kind of new program would you implement for our growing number of homeless population? Could look like they're forgotten.
The homeless population?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to have to get some nonprofit work with that, and also work with the churches on that. But that is, I think, when you study the homeless population, that comes to the mental illness population, correct? And so that is where you can house someone, and a lot of those people, the issue with them is they don't want to be somewhere. If you put them somewhere, you got to solve the problem up here. And the difficulty with that, we know, is that the state funding for mental illness has been cut back tremendously. But it is about solving the mental illness problem versus a strictly shelter problem. Yes.
When I asked, I had this experience once before with a family right there. It's when you're homeless and, well, say the police come to you and try to say that they want help, but then you meet the child, you hit him, then you don't be homeless anymore. You're the criminal. So now you're being incarcerated.
And when my dad was sheriff, I remember a policewoman was killed from a homeless man who was probably a mentally ill man, but he wrestled the gun away from her, and she was shot. And it was on the West Bank, and this was going back to the early 90s maybe? Early 90s maybe. And so it's difficult for the police to approach this person to help, because you can't predict what a mentally ill person is going to do. Right.
The mental health with that, and as you said, like with the nonprofits and everything, to make sure that we have the right funding and that they're getting the access to care,
Right.
so that you can take care of the mental status.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Like you were saying, jobs for the youth. Because like I say, my daughters, they worked when they were young, and I have a little granddaughters growing up, and they don't have jobs. And we are actually scared to bring our children to the park. I'm sorry, I'm scared to bring them.
So within the parish, what I want to do is, and this doesn't speak to the jobs as a whole, but it reminds me of something I forgot to say. We have we employ over 3,000 people in the parish. But what we need to do better about doing, let's say there's jobs and there's different ranks, like Inspector 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to really push our Inspector 1 to become an Inspector 2 and move them up the ranks. And they need certification. Sometimes they need to go to Shreveport to get a certification to do that. But we need to be good at promoting from within, and then the entry-level job opens for the younger folk, okay? So that's what, specifically for the jobs that we can control, I want to do that. But, as...
I think she's talking about the Summer Youth Program.
Oh, the Summer Youth Program.
Yeah, at one time in Jefferson Parish, a 14 to an 18-year-old could work in the Summer Youth Program. As a matter of fact, I worked in the Summer Youth Program. It was called Manpower, or Unemployment and Training, as Mr. Charles called them. But that Manpower program has changed over the years. And one of the questions that we have is that why in Orleans Parish that the 14 to 18-year-old can get the job, and in Jefferson Parish it cannot. We had a kid from Orleans Parish who was 16 years old who came over here, the mayor's office, Mayor Mitchell Andrews' office sent them over here to learn how to do broadcasting. And so my question at that point was, are there any kids in Jefferson Parish who can do that? And that kid, he worked the whole summer. So one of the policy issues that we have to address, what has changed and who made the change, and why the 14 to 18-year-old can no longer get on the summer job program in Jefferson Parish. And that's one of the things that that we've heard a lot about.
And then the other thing that we talk about in Jefferson Parish is the trade schools, because not all college is not suited for everyone, but you can still earn a very good living and get a job with good health care and retirement without an education, but you got to be trained beforehand. And I think there's opportunities there with Avondale as well. Now, Avondale is still forming up. The contracts were signed. They don't know what kind of jobs will be there because they haven't signed all their lease. But with the Delgado campus being right on the West Bank, we really need to position that so you can be able to go to a trade school and then get into a company where you can have an entry-level job, and be able to work your way up within that company and have a decent job where you can get health care and those kind of things. So we need to position our educational piece right into the job market. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
My question is housing. I work in the housing industry, and I see every day that the senior citizen and handicapped people are literally being priced out of the housing market in Jefferson Parish. At one time, a one bedroom, you could probably get it for $300 a month. Now, one bedroom in Jefferson Parish going to anywhere from $750 to $800. They literally can't afford it. So, with the aging population coming to where it's at, we don't have enough housing facility in Jefferson Parish, affordable housing, to accommodate these people. A lot of them have to go to Orleans Parish, St. Charles Parish, because there's little or no housing facility here in Jefferson Parish for the elderly or the handicapped that they can afford to live.
You hit the nail on the head with one of the issues that we have a problem with in Jefferson Parish. And what I like to say is, you know, my cousins live on the west side of Houston, and every time I go visit them, there's a whole new housing development that's being developed because there's open land. We have no open land here. We have some on the West Bank, none on the East Bank, and we have the Mississippi River and we have the lake. We have to rethink our structures. And one of the things that we touched upon that Mr. Jones has indicated, and we've gotten some initial results in, is that we are an aging population, and there are not good housing options for our active seniors, because you raise your kids in the house, and then as you age, and I always explain my mother's neighborhood. My mom's a widow, both sides of her are a widow, and then the two ladies across the street are a widow. So they're all in their home by themselves. The kids are out. They lost their husbands. They would like other housing options. My mother does not want to mow the lawn, you know, have to pay for the lawn being mowed. She doesn't want to really, but there's no good housing options for her. And as she gets older, she's going to need help, okay? And it's very expensive to bring somebody in the house with you to help you. So if we had more facilities, and when I talk to developers and I talk to contractors, I always tell them, the housing situation for the active seniors is where it's at. We need to bring that forward. But it's a market-driven thing. You know, it is market-driven. I mean, the government, it's hard for the government to actually provide that kind of housing, but it is.
And one of the things, and a matter of fact, we were together Monday or Tuesday, and that was brought up. The key thing is that we have to take the Jefferson Parish Home Mortgage Authority and the Jefferson Parish Public Housing Authority and remold and reshape those entities with the Jefferson Parish Community Development Department and make all of those resources available to private developers to come in and build senior citizen housing. We have the mechanisms in the parish. The Jefferson Parish Public Housing Authority, one example, if you brought the Section 8 management contract in-house, that housing authority would have $3 million a month to work with private developers to come in and build senior citizens housing using tax credits. At the meeting on Monday, was it Monday? One of the pastors in Gretna, they're building a senior citizen facility there to address and help senior citizens. But the railroad decided that they wanted to take control and build another spot that curtailed that senior citizen housing. The mayor of Gretna and Cynthia and different people have been talking about how to get that done. So it's possible. If we reshape the Jefferson Parish Home Mortgage Authority and the Jefferson Parish Public Housing Authority and make it developer friendly, you'll find that developers will come in and develop the senior citizen housing. That's one of the position papers that Lewis Thomas worked with the coalition to put together to try to mend those things together.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I heard earlier about the kids. We have to catch them while they're young in order so they can be developing earlier in life. Where in Jefferson Parish, we don't have anything in the early in elementary school right now because I am a bus driver and I see kids and I've been transporting kids for 27 years. And when I came up, they had activity in elementary school. They had bands, even if they were doing a little soccer, whatever it may be. We can't wait till the kids get in high school and say, now you can play football or now you can be in a band, because John Eric and Higgin was the biggest band on the West Bank. Right now, John Eric is starting to develop more, but John Eric was a 25-piece band for many years. And that should not have been for Jefferson Parish to not to have any activity for the kids to grow up to learn. Because if you ask the kids now what you want to be in life, they can't tell you because they don't know. The only thing they know now is video games. And we need to give them more activity other than video games. PS4 and the Fortnite. I'm learning it for my grandchild because I am a grandparent that have a grandchild that's doing those different things. We in Jefferson Parish in the school system need to do better.
I love that idea, and I love that we need, when I say the facilities that we have, we think of recreational facilities as baseball, football, track. Why not have a band in our gym? I mean, you get a neighborhood who's got some kids in the neighborhood who let's work with the churches, and let's get some volunteers who can teach these kids and then let's raise some money and get them some instruments, and let's put it in our gym. I mean, we've got to think more creatively. At the luncheon the other day, one of the pastors was saying they're trying to find a place to show the young man how to fix a car, how to change a tire. I said, well, can you put it in, like, the engine or that part in the gym and get it out, like, within a couple days? Does it happen? He's like, yeah. I said, well, why shouldn't we be doing that in our gyms? I mean, we have gyms in every neighborhood that we're funding. And I hate when I drive by a gym and it's closed. That's crazy. So that's something that's extremely exciting to me. Bands in gyms. It doesn't have to be sports. So thank you for bringing that up, because it's another great idea. And it's just talking to people is what stimulates creativity and gives us new ways to rethink parish government. It really does. So, and you're right. It has to be at a younger age. Activities at a younger age. Yes.
You guys spoke earlier about the elderly. When I was younger, they had a program where they came in and they picked up elderly women and men, and they would bring them to the centers, and they had activities. They would keep them for a couple of hours and bring them back home. Can they bring that back into the neighborhoods? Because I also live around elderly people, and they just be sitting inside all day, and people work. They can't come in. They can't watch them. They're falling. One lady she took a bath and she couldn't get out, so she was there for days until someone came in and checked on her. So that's also something that you guys could think about bringing back. It was an elderly, like, they fed them, they did bingo, they did games, and they had a van. They'll pick them up and they'll drop them off. Yeah, like an adult daycare, but they had it in each neighborhood. Like, each center had that program, which is no longer. I also feel like, yeah, we had parks, we played, but it's not safe. My last question I'm gonna speak on is the breaking in the cars. The kids, they have so many teenage kids with nothing to do. They walk up and down the street all day, every day. They just do all kind of little things they're not supposed to, and there's no parental supervision. You can't even sit outside your door anymore. You can't leave your cars open. You can't buy furniture and put it in front of the door, afraid somebody's gonna take it. So they had an enforcement about curfew. I don't see that happening. I've seen kids 9, 10 o'clock at night walking up my street wondering, like, what are y'all doing out this late? So that's also an issue with the kids.
Yes, the cars, no matter where I go in Jefferson Parish, and if I go to a community, the community group that they have a sheriff's office there giving an update, breaking into the cars is across the parish. They just pulling on handles. I'm told they're looking for guns. A lot of people store their guns in their car rather than, and so that is a concern. I wrote down the vans to, I know we have senior centers, but if you can't get to the senior center is no good to you. So thank you for that. And I'll look into what, it might have been a funding issue, but I don't know. I need to know the history about when that ended. But yeah, absolutely. I like that idea. So I wrote it down, actually. Yes, ma'am.
It's not a question, it's an idea. I worked in adult daycare, elderly, handicapped, mental, since 99, 2000, and I had my own agency, which was called LDJ. My brother-in-law died, and we opened up a business. Hey. And we closed it in 2008. And for the elderly people that income that's over like 1,700, they don't qualify for Medicaid. So I had a mother that my father died 2013, so she didn't qualify for Medicaid. So I had to quit my job. Me and my sisters, I'm a triplet. We had to quit I had to quit my job and literally put my stuff in the storage and move home to take care of my mom and my dad. So that's what we're supposed to do, take care of our parents. So I took care of my mom, and because she couldn't afford to pay the bills and afford for someone to come in the home and take care of her. So that's what we did. So my thing is for the for people to come in the home, like you were saying about your neighbors and your mom and them. And what I did, I opened up my own business, and I do housing. Like come in, I come in, I clean up, and I feed them. But what I'm saying, I volunteer sometime, and I go in the homes and I take care of elderly people. I cook for 'em, meal prep and everything. We don't have anything other than Wagman in the area for elderly people, elderly, handicapped, mental. So what I'm saying, we don't have anything in the area to help these people. So what they do, they die off. They wind up in a nursing home. That's a major fact, because I don't think it's fair that the elderly people, they give out their lives to their children and to the community, and then they just die off.
Yes.
That's not fair.
Yes.
And then Medicaid doesn't, they feel, I guess if it's like $40 over the income, they don't qualify. That's not fair. So Jefferson Parish need to do something about that.
For the seniors, yes,
For the
absolutely.
seniors and the handicapped.
And it's a phenomenon that we see in the last couple decades, because remember, and I don't want to stereotype things, but if you look in the 50s and 60s, I read an article that a lot of times the man worked, the wife was at home, so the grandma was at home because the wife was at home. Okay, I mean, you're talking about that kind of traditional family role. Now, when you have both the mom and the dad working, like you're saying, you had to quit your job to take care of so the article was explaining that this is a generational problem. When you have both of the people as income earners, there's nobody at home, so now you really can't just leave the elderly person at home because there's nobody at home anymore. So absolutely. And we do need to take care of our elderly. I mean, it's something, and again, it's all about funding, but working with nonprofits or working with church groups to help us do that. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Hi. I have a son, and I have so many ideas, and it was told to me so long ago that the community was waiting on me. I think all of us have so many ideas, and I've decided to put my idea into action and start a nonprofit to start putting to action some of the ideas that I have. The thing is, we need to be able to connect with the parish. We need to be able to connect with you guys to say, hey, this is what we're doing. Can you provide resources to help us? So, we're just asking that you be open to nonprofits and what we're doing, and, don't just say, oh, they're not doing anything. The nonprofits that are forming are out here to make a difference in the community. And if we can connect with the politicians and the leaders in the community, then that would help us to help you guys to make the community a better place to live.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you.
I want to thank you for coming by. We're excited about what's going on with you and your campaign. I have a thing that's going on right now, dealing with people in the city of New Orleans, trying to get them to come into Jefferson Parish. And one of the first things I hear is people don't want to come over here from Orleans Parish into Jefferson Parish. We have a female mayor, in the first one in New Orleans, Miss LaToya Cantrell. I honestly believe that you're going to win, and everybody in here is going to vote for you. You're going to mount the floor with John Young. So what is your plan when you do win? What is your plan to work with Mayor Cantrell, being the first two women of leadership in this region, what is your plan to come together with her to bridge the gap with New Orleanians and what's the word? Jeffersonians. What is your plan to bridge that gap with these two communities or these two parishes?
Well, I've been on the parish council for 10 years, and I can say that I feel like there's a change in attitude. For whatever reason, it's no one's fault, it's to everyone's credit. And maybe it's this regionalism thing that we realize we have got to work together. I want to explain that something that happened. I work with Mayor Cantrell and Councilwoman Helena Moreno, and it's just something simple. We were looking at transit. I met with them and I said, what issue can we take on that's sort of we can tackle? Transit. You know, we have a transit system in Jefferson Parish and a transit system in Orleans Parish, and it's an example of why does someone have to get off of this bus to get on this bus? Because it's a different system. We need to get some economies of scale. And it's the 2-lane number 39 bus. The Orleans Parish, the Orleans side wanted to come into Jefferson side. And they were like, oh, that'll never happen. That will never happen because Jefferson Transit's gonna lose some fares, we're gonna lose some money. And I was like, you're bringing people from Orleans to a big economic development center in Oxford. You're bringing employees to Oxford, you're bringing patients to Oxford. Let's do it. We passed it on the Jefferson Parish side on a Wednesday. They passed it on the Orleans side unanimously on a Friday. And now it's a simple little thing like that. The bus going from New Orleans to Jefferson Parish, so somebody does not have to get off, wait in the hot sun, and get on another bus. Just going straight that way. It wasn't anything with the bus or the road. It was a political barrier that stopped it, a system barrier. And when the three of us look in the room like, why don't we do this? Oh, you'll never be able to do it. And we did it. It's simple. It was just, it made sense. So breaking down those barriers between our two companies with our drainage is another common element. With development at the Lake Pontchartrain is another common element. Of course, more with transit. And with really pitching the pitch to big companies to come to our region, I will go and pitch that pitch, and if New Orleans gets it, so be it. I will say that's a win for us, because I know Jefferson Parish citizens are going to get jobs there, right? So it's not looking at, oh, we lost it to New Orleans. It's, I will go with you to the pitch, you come with me to the pitch, and if it ended up in one of our parishes, great, we all win, okay? So it's that different mentality that I'm going to bring to the table.
I have a question. My question is that what plans, as parish president, would you have in helping to implement changes in the hiring practice? Because we have so many citizens here in Jefferson Parish that are educated and have skills for workable jobs, but yet they continue to be overlooked because of who they're not connected to or because of political things that have taken place. And so we need to be able to have a hiring practice that's going to be fair, that's going to look at the criteria of the education and the skills of that person to make sure that we're putting people in the correct jobs.
Okay, so if you look at Jefferson Parish jobs, it's kind of broken into two. You have the classified employees, and they're sort of politically protected. In other words, with the change of a parish president, they still have their jobs. They don't have to worry about the losing their jobs. And those are the bulk of the parish jobs. And you have to get tested, and you have to, there's a fair process. What we can be better about is making sure the vacancies, that people know about those vacancies, get pushed out to the community, that people don't have to go figure it out on a website or know someone who told them about the job, that we're really good about getting deep into the community and saying, these are the jobs that are available to you. Start applying for it, get in front of people. And the other positions come, or called unclassified, they're the more come in with the new administration. And that's my commitment, is that those jobs are going to look like the parish that we are. And again, if I'm fortunate enough to win, I don't know who those people are going to be yet, but I promise it will look like the community that we serve. That we serve, yes. Yes.
I'm a senior citizen. I go to the center every day. My senior lady right there. That's how I got to come here today. I love it. My husband died. This a teacher. Miss Pat. We might not have transportation. I have a little hoopty, but I get there. And I'm telling you, if I didn't have these, I go to 3 of them. If I didn't have these senior citizens, I don't know what I do. I'll be in the middle.
And I appreciate that. And we put together a tax committee to look at our revenue and how we could do better. And one of the recommendations from there is that we think we could offer even stronger senior services, because right now it's being operated by our recreation department, senior services, and library, and it's kind of fractured. And if we kind of go together with those departments, we think we can even be able to deliver better services to you all. So that will be something that we will be looking at. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm a senior.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a senior citizen, and I go to the Railroad Center. That center is named Senior Citizen Center. It's not a senior citizen center. That Railroad Center belongs to the parish or somebody else. It doesn't belong to us at all. I've been working there as a person that's over the kitchen for 2.5 years, and I just resigned a couple of months ago. And the reason why I resigned because I love to serve people the same as I serve myself. If I had to cook a meal for my family, I would like the meal to look the same if I had to cook it for your family. And I did more cooking at my house because we don't have the proper stuff to work with over there. We don't have any place to keep our stuff. Nothing is in order for the seniors over there. They just named it, but it's not a senior citizen center. I even talked to some of the members. I said, look, when I walk out of this kitchen, you're going to get behind me because we're going somewhere else. We're not going to come here. You can't even get the center. They don't even have, if you're going to use the center, you got to stand in line as though you just come from another parish or something. That center over there really needs to be checked out, starting at the stove, the sink, everything with it. We don't have any place to keep food. If you leave anything there, you got to bring an ice chest, and if you leave anything there, when they rent it out, then when you come back, it's gone. So it really is not, sufficient for the seniors. And Miss Gooden is not here, which is our president. I wish he was. You have to walk in her office and back out of it because there's so much stuff. Everything that's left over, all the stuff that we're going to use for next month, we got to put it in her office in order for it to be saved. I think they really need to revamp that thing altogether and name it and give us some kind of, space that we can work with over there.
Okay, thank you for that. So the kitchen's just not workable. The kitchen's not workable.
Is that, I don't know if that's a parish facility, or it's parish, but they're using a makeshift. Ms. Carter, where is that located at? So using no health unit as a so they're using a makeshift.
Okay, gotcha.
But it's a community center. It's not a senior center.
Okay, all right, gotcha. Yes.
Let me say this real quick to all of y'all. She's not going to be able to answer all y'all questions, but what I'm going to ask her, at least every 3 months that we can come together and y'all be able to ask her questions, because she going to need the problem that she going to incur, she going to need our help, like you, Ms. Carter. Y'all be able to ask her question. Will you commit to that every 3 months?
Yes.
So God bless y'all.
Let me tell you, and I was a little taken back by the question, but I met with one of the ministers the other day, and he says, I want to vote for you and I want to help you, but are you going to be available to me if you win? And I was shocked by it. But I realized maybe that had been his experience before. I hope all of you get to know me enough. I am a woman of my word. If I serve, I want to serve. And this is an ongoing dialogue that we need to have. So please do not ever think that of me, that I told him, I said, well, I would be using you if I didn't do that, and I don't use people. So please know that my door will always be open, and we will work together and meet regularly to solve these issues.
We got time for one more question.
Okay, my question is, I heard someone talk about the nonprofit organizations in Jefferson Parish. I've been a nonprofit organization for several years, but what I've learned, when you're a small nonprofit organization, it's hard for you to get funding. So what I had to do, I had to go under quote names or people that have done the work before. So I had to go under their umbrella, although I'm a 501c3 and I've been doing community work. I've even left the parish of Jefferson and done it in Orleans Parish. We talk about senior revitalization. That is something that we've done, but we could not get the funding because we are no-namer. We're not the big names. We're not a part of this clique. We're not a part of this campaign. So what would you do for an organization like myself that's been in existence for over 28 years, doing the community work, feeding the homeless, feeding the senior citizens, even going to some homes and paying for medicine and paying for light bills and doing all of these things because the parish that I live in, because I'm a no-namer, would not give me funding.
Now, the funding that you're talking about, it was probably council funds, correct? Like discretionary council funds?
Yeah, we tried different areas. We've done all we could to the point to where I said, I'm just going to put my 501(c) on the shelf, and I'm going to take out of my own pocket or do my own personal fundraisers because our community is a mess. And if no one would take a stand, and I know people have the heart for children, but my heart is for senior citizens because one day I'm going to get old. And what will my parish do for me?
Okay, gotcha. That's the level of engagement that I think people need to have with their council members. We have about over a $600 million budget. All of our budgeted funds go toward our parish, roads, streets, drainage. Some of the funds that every council member is able to direct funds, we call it discretionary funds. It comes from the gaming. They do capital projects with, and some of those funds are able to fund nonprofits. So I think you have to align yourself with the need that council feels there's a need in the community, and then you're able to do that service. And I think that's how those partnerships are able to come about. Yes.
Okay, we're going to get prepared for to get the brunch, but two key things. One, Jefferson Parish Council and administration can't employ everybody, and the turnover rate is not as high as people think. So you got 3,000 employees, and everybody that's looking for a job with the parish is not going to get a job with the parish. That's why it's so important to recruit private business and retrain and train our people to get those opportunities in the private industry also. Every nonprofit is not going to be able to get funded. That's a reality. Everybody's opening up a nonprofit every other day. So you have a limited amount of funds that can go around, and that's something that's real. So when you're saying I'm starting a nonprofit, make sure you understand that most funding to nonprofits come from philanthropy organizations who have an abundance of money to deal with it. The council may have the total, if memory serves me right, have $3 million that can be divvied up. And that may have changed. I'm going from history to divvy up amongst nonprofits. And you got to pick people who have audits, who has filed their 990 tax returns, and who have a certified audit, so you can make sure that that person has the protocols in place, so you're not splashed over TV like Ricky Jackson was for not having CPA and audited financials. He did nothing wrong, didn't steal anything, but because he didn't have the proper accounting, he splashed over the newspaper and the TV, and here's a person who has an impeccable record doing stuff in the toiletry area who's disgraced. So the council and the parish president also have to make sure that you meet the minimum qualifications. One, that you've filed your 990s. Two, you have a certified audit from a CPA saying that you have proper protocols in place. Now they know that that minimum criteria is met. Then they can look at your goals and objectives and see if they can possibly give you some funding. So we need to be a little bit realistic about some of these things that we have to come to understand. I'm just giving you a perspective that oftentimes you don't get. Because I've seen nonprofits, as a matter of fact, the IRS and the FBI came to my office and wanted to know why we were spending so much time fixing nonprofits. That's the part of it that you don't know. As an elected official, you're held accountable for that. So if you want to be funded, first thing you have to do is make sure you file your 990s. Second thing you need to do is get an audited CPA to make sure that everything's in order. Now you've met the minimum basic qualifications to seek funding. Glenda, did you press the flu, Dr. Glenda? Dr. Williams? Okay. As Charles said, she can't answer all these questions today. I'm surprised she answered as much as she did. but we want to thank her for taking the time out. And remember, the Coalition for Leadership and Development is a think tank. Got to put that out there. The Coalition for Leadership and Development is the think tank. The Jefferson Coalition's Political Action Committee. They do endorse candidates, not the Coalition for Leadership and Development is a think tank. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want you to enjoy the breakfast. If the council person has a few minutes, she'll be glad, hopefully, to take a picture with you. But remember, she's campaigning, so she can't stay here all day. But please enjoy your breakfast, and hopefully, if you want a picture, she'll take a few minutes to snap a picture with you, because you never know. History is in the making.